This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is Spencer Love, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, the only audio experience on the web today, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J. Fine Solo, but it is still a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the promoter of Love Wrestling, Spencer Love.
You know, James, I'm glad you're in LA, friend, because let me tell you, with an intro like that, my ring announcing duties with Love Pro Wrestling might have some competition, to say the least. I appreciate you having me on. Hell of an introduction, and thanks. It's nice to talk to another professional wrestling fan from the West Coast.
Absolutely, and it's always fun to, have, we haven't done an interview from Canada in quite some time. So it's always fun to see what's going on up north as well. And obviously, we like to do it big on Wrestling with Entertainment as well.
Well, I promise I'll keep my A's at a minimum.
Hey, with however you talk, that's how you talk, man.
Okay, well then that promise is fully rescinded, but proudly Canadian, I guarantee that'll slip out every once in a while.
Can you tell us what you got coming up next, and where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Twitter mostly at Spenny Love. But like you said, I'm the promoter of Love Wrestling. I am the promoter of Love Pro Wrestling. So if you want to follow anything that we've got going on, whether it's the content creation or whether it's our live events that we host here in Edmonton, Alberta, you can find us wherever podcasts are played, videos are viewed, or across any of your most popular social media platforms, all at Love Wrestling CA. As far as our live shows go, we are live on August 26th. That'll be for Love Pro Wrestling's 7 and Out Come the Wrestlers. You can find us, of course, in Edmonton, Alberta. But if you want to find us on Twitch, we do stream all of our shows live. So that can be at twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA if you want to tune into that.
And of course, all your personal links to your social medias and everything concerning Love Pro Wrestling will be in the link in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Well, beautiful. You're making it easy for me. I guess you're making it easy for everyone else. I know where to find me on social media.
Well, they could simply just click the link. There's no excuse to not find Spencer Love and Love for Wrestling.
Well, we like to think so. We like to make it easy because there are some barriers as far as it goes with Canadian professional wrestling, maybe getting more accessible out there, mostly just the size of our frickin' country. So, yeah, if you can make it easy for me, makes it great.
Right, and I feel like Canadian pro wrestling in the last 2-3 years has kind of made a resurgence, so to speak. With the pandemic, people, are looking for new outlets and going, across the border, and they've been finding, obviously Love Pro Wrestling is more on the new side, but, Barry Wrestling, and NEW, Real Canadian Wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think that there were a lot of individuals and a lot of promotions, wrestlers that really made the best of it over the last little bit. And I know that's a very small silver lining to look at sometimes when it was such a tough situation for so many people. Of course, rightfully so. But there are a lot of promotions that I think did a really, really great job in spite of shitty circumstances. You know, I'm proud of what we've been able to do over the last year, sort of, and I'm using my air quotes here. I know it's an audio podcast, but using the air quotes, coming out of a pandemic or with things maybe a little less restricted than they were before. We've been fortunate as far as that goes to be able to put on now coming into our 7th event. But you mentioned a couple of promotions there, Barrie Wrestling, you mentioned NEW out of British Columbia. You know, you look at C4 and Greektown out of Ontario as well. And
Smash.
So many promotions in between. Smash, yeah, Winnipeg Pro. You know, I'm sure you and I can both sit here and name great promotions coming out of the Great White North for pretty well the entire duration of this podcast, and I'm sure we will. But there have been a lot of promotions. There have been a lot of professional wrestlers that, in spite of some pretty tough times for everybody, not just in professional wrestling, have gone out there and are doing a great job. And like you said, resurgence, I think the Canadian wrestling is getting more popular for sure. I think that there are more promotions and international viewers that are taking notice of that. But there have been great professional wrestlers and great professional wrestling promotions out here for, heck, pretty well my entire time as a fan, to say the least, right? It's very nice that the wrestlers out here are starting to get what, you know, you're bang on, is a little bit more attention on them, because I'm biased, but they've deserved it for years.
And I'm a little biased as to we've interviewed a lot of wrestlers from Canada. And, you know, I'm just a really big fan of what you guys are doing now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, you know, it's the worst way I can put it, but it's a pretty good time to be a promoter. And I think it's gotten easier and easier to be a promoter in Canada, simply because we're such a talented country. You know, it's very easy to put on a great professional wrestling card, taking the finances, taking everything like that out of it, obviously. But when you look at it, this country, and there's been a lot of great promotions. You go all the way back to Stampede, and, you know, you mentioned Smash, who's run for over 20 years. Like, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a Canadian professional wrestling fan, to be honest with it. We're so lucky with the talent that we have here from the East Coast to the West Coast, and it's very cool that's starting to get maybe a little bit more deserved international recognition.
Absolutely. And can you tell us about Love Pro Wrestling, your promotion?
Yeah, you betcha. It's one of those other things that how much time have you got? But so long story as short as I can frickin' keep it. Love Wrestling started in January of 2021. We had initially started as just a content creation site. My background was in journalism and wrestling journalism and marketing, a nice little trio there. So I'd written for sites previously. I decided I wanted to do my own thing. We started in, like I said, January 2021 as strictly content creation. We're very lucky, and luck's going to come up a lot in this because, yeah, we work our asses off. But personally, I feel very lucky that the content creators that we had right off the bat, whether you're looking at JPJ or Zach or Josh Robinson or Pluggo or anyone in between that we've got on the site, it's one of those things where you have to name everybody once you get started, so I'll cut myself off early. But we're very lucky that those people were very motivated to take the brand to be as best as it could be. And through those opportunities, we got the chance to run our very first live professional wrestling show, LPW Changed the Game, in October 15th, 2021, to be precise. Right. We ran that in conjunction with Force Pro Wrestling out here in Edmonton. And since then, we just sort of took on the modus operandi of, well, if we've done something great and we love what we're doing, let's continue to try and do that. So again, we go back to the pandemic with stuff, but we unfortunately had to take some time off up until March of 2022. That's when we ran our second event at the Rec Room South of Edmonton, and since then we've been running monthly on the last Friday of every month in the heart of Edmonton. It's very, very cool for me that we get the opportunity. You know, we're very lucky again to get the opportunity to work with so many great professional wrestlers and great people. Whether that's people that are here long time, every single show, our consistent roster. You know, you look at MRB and Zoe Sager, the Clandestine Society on top of that. You know, Taryn from accounting, Stephen Crow. Jack Pride, son of Irish, a lot of great individuals that literally have been there since our first event, to the people that we've brought in as sort of the fly-in talent or the one-time talents like a Chelsea Green or Rachel Ellering, or, you look at Veda Scott, who's coming in for this show, Gigi Ray making her return to Canada as part of this. Everybody in between, we're very lucky that those people have chosen to be a part of Love Pro Wrestling because since our foundation, we've prided ourselves on great pro wrestling and great people. And whether it's the one times or the long times, as you can put it, we're very lucky to be surrounded with great wrestlers and great human beings. So that's as short as I can keep it for you, because let me tell you, man, it's another one of those things where you start naming promotions, great pro wrestlers, or I start to get long-winded or on a tangent about LPW. I'll take up your entire time.
We ain't going anywhere. We got old time walls here. We're not on the time.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I've got 90s bingo in like 3 hours, so we got lots of time.
All right, good to know. Interesting enough, you said, Love Pro Wrestling runs the last Friday of every month. Was that intentional? Was that something that just kind of came up, or what was the reasoning behind doing every Friday, the last Friday of every month?
It did make it easy. We try and be as respectful as possible, and I think we've done a good job of being as respectful as possible of other professional wrestling shows, other events, other concerts, whatever it may be. That we want to make sure that on the nights that we're running, we're not taking away from any other promotions that are running. Right. I think it's silly, to split an audience, but B, to put talent in a weird position where maybe you have to pick and choose. My belief has always been that if professional wrestlers have as many opportunities as possible, especially like we talked about off the bat, in a country as widespread as Canada, the closest show that you're going to find consistently in Alberta, outside of Edmonton or in Canada, is 3 hours away. It's not like where you look at a New York or a Philly or a Chicago or these major hubs of pro wrestling where you can go and hit a few shows in a day if you've got the mileage behind you. We want to provide every opportunity. Fridays, and especially the last Friday of every month, we found that there weren't many shows that were running, whether it be, like we say, concerts or hockey games or other pro wrestling shows in Edmonton. So it provides the best opportunity for talent, but for fans too. If we've got the opportunity to provide consistency, people can say, holy shit, on the last Friday of every month, we're going to be at LPW. You can plan around that. That's consistent up until the end of 2023, with the exception of December. We want to take that off, let people go see their families, right? Right. That's the only exception to that. It lets people plan. It lets people have that consistency so that, if you can plan on being at LPW, well, we've given you the opportunity to plan on being at LPW until the end of 2023.
That's awesome. I don't think that's something that a lot of people or promoters think about is, consistency and where we're going to see them every month, because it could be a little sporadic at times.
Yeah, and it's both a benefit and a curse sometimes, and admittedly as a newer promotion, there are a lot of promotions out here already doing good jobs of going out and hitting small towns and doing the, I hate the phrase, but the spot shows or the one-time shows. There are other promotions already doing that, and if we've got the opportunity to sort of start to build our base here in Edmonton, hopefully we do start to run other shows, and maybe we start running on dates that are the non-last Friday of every month. Wow, that was a weird way to put it. But if we've got the opportunity to do stuff outside of that, awesome. But right now, we're very proud of what we're doing in our one-time-a-month shows. The last Friday of every month gives people security on it. We are at the home of Edmonton professional wrestling, I like to call the Rec Room. For me, it's the best venue that you're going to catch professional wrestling in Edmonton and area. We're proud as heck of that. And they took a chance on us. They locked us in until the end of 2023, so it's pretty cool to have a home. We've got our own Thunderdome. But it's cool for me. You look, and even with other promotions, you look, and not by any means are we at this level at all, but you look at promotions like WWE, well, Madison Square Garden is the home of WWE, and you look at AEW and Daly's Place is the home of AEW. I like that idea a lot. I came from a sports background in both my professional life and in just being a hockey fan and football fan and all of that, and it's cool for me when you've got that sort of like the home of the Edmonton Oilers or the home of the Chicago, like I like having that home base. So
Right.
it's a cool little tie-in for us as far as that goes too.
And you've been very consistent with your shows. Your first show was in October, but obviously you had some glitches at the beginning of the year. But since March, you've consistently ran shows.
You betcha.
Has that been a sense of accomplishment so far?
Yeah, it's we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and we're going into show number 7. By no means are we at the level of promotions that have run for your 20, 40 years, at least as far as your tenure goes, right? You can only plan on consistency as long as you keep going, right? But 7 shows in, and like you said, outside of stuff that was very out of our control as far as the COVID situation and as far as that goes, we have run every month. We have been able to put on great shows every single time. Different shows every single time, I think, is very, very cool. And for me, and it ain't rocket surgery here, but I think that being able to provide that consistency allows us the ability to start telling long-term stories and start to build storylines around the individuals that we've got. When you are running maybe sporadically, or you're only doing things every so often, or dates don't line up or whatever happens, you maybe do have to just plan on running as well. Let's put on great matches with no stories behind them outside of there being great matches. And that ain't a bad thing. But I do think a better thing than that is having that ability to tell long-term stories, because people buy into that. I think that if you've got people coming out for their first show, second show, you give them a reason to care. The comparison that I always make, and again, to go back to my hockey background, is like I was a diehard and still am a diehard Edmonton Oilers fan. I'll watch them play anybody. But do I get more hyped up for watching the Oilers play the Flames versus watching the Oilers play the Florida Panthers? Well, they're both great teams, but you've got the history there. You've got the rivalry with the Flames. You know why they hate each other, right? So you get that little extra buy-in. Right. I've tried to apply that to pro wrestling in every way, shape, or form, Everybody loves a long-term story. And I think that with how talented this country is and this province is, speaking to Alberta specifically, you should be able to go to any show, and we are able to go to any show in Alberta at this point and see good to great professional wrestling matches every time. So how do you differentiate? You provide the consistency, you provide long-term storytelling as often as possible, and at the best of your ability. And I think that I am the promoter, the owner, the whatever you want to put on it, but I'm very, very happy and very, very humbled by the fact that we've got so many great pro wrestlers that are buying right into that for us.
Now, you did mention, how the pandemic has affected you in the early stages of all this. And it does seem like Canada got hit a little bit harder than America did when it came to the pandemic. Has any of that affected the promotion at this stage?
Yeah, but I don't think in a negative way, and I'm not going to weigh into like the political or the science or anything like that. But we did have to take. So we ran our first show in October. We didn't run for the rest of the year. That was by design, just because the first show that we did was sort of a testing ground. But the plan was we were going to do a show in January and we were going to do a show in February, and basically everything we're doing was going to be pushed up 2 months essentially. But with restrictions that we had, and just on my personal beliefs with it, with where the numbers were at the time, we chose to decide that January and February were going to be put off. We had not announced anything. We hadn't booked anything, so we were at least okay there. And we just postponed until March, which to this point has been, it's kind of funny that the way things work. And again, I don't want to look at a silver lining of a situation that was really terrible for a lot of people, but That gave us a little bit of extra time even to, we didn't get to run 2 shows, but we got to over-prepare for our next 8 shows. That'll take us till the end of the year and really, really focus on executing those to the best of our abilities. Not that we wouldn't have before, but it's kind of, again, the smallest silver lining that you can look at. A bit of a benefit that we got those 2 months and did take them off and got to focus on what we get to do for the rest of the year.
All right. Now, what is something you know now about running a promotion and interviewing as well that you wish you knew when you first started?
As far as promoting goes, the airline industry is the friggin' worst. Oh man, and like through I don't think anyone's fault, but my goodness, the biggest headaches that I've had as far as a promoter, and knock on wood, because this is such a testament to the people we have working with us, my biggest headaches have been like logistics. Like it's the worst when I'm very much an over prepper. So flights are booked usually a month or a couple of months in advance. Everybody's got travel, everybody's got that sort of stuff, and then day of or day before, snap. Oh, your flight's been canceled, or whatever it may be. Oh my goodness, I hate it. That's the worst part of it. Saying that, like I sort of alluded to it off the bat, I had expected when I was coming into it, you hear so many horror stories from maybe, promotions or shoot interviews or whatever it might be about like the political side of professional wrestling and all of that end of things. Again, knock on every piece of wood around you, James, but I am so lucky that the people around us have been so wonderful, and everybody pulls the rope the same way and wants to work together, not just to be, a winner or a champion or get over in their match, brother, or whatever it might be. Everybody wants to put on a great professional wrestling show. And I think when you've got that mentality, it is the most positive, unexpected thing of it is I admittedly, with how great the people I thought we brought in and are working with consistently were before all of this, man, they've just reinforced so much what great individuals and great pro wrestlers we've got, because holy shit, it's been so easy to work with everything. As far as interviewing goes, the biggest things that I've had to learn again are the technical end of things, but more how to ask a question, if that makes sense. I'm very conversational. I love having chats with people, even in the interviews that I do right now. I'm a good enough interviewer that some of the stuff that I get, again, to use my air quotes here, is newsworthy, and you're getting some stuff out of that, but I have always tried to actively endeavor never to be clickbait or never, you won't believe what so-and-so said in this interview.
Right.
I always send out my transcripts. They're accurate. They are vetted. They are exactly as by the book. Send those out, and if things are newsworthy, great. But having to ask a question rather than just like ramble and, have a conversation are two very different things. So that was the biggest thing that I had to learn, is how to be a little more inquisitive, I guess is the best way to put it. And that still probably isn't the best way to put it, but heck, I'm going with it.
Well, it seems like, we were talking off air, you were having some issues with a train, and we talked a little bit about traffic.
Okay, so yeah, like that's a life issue, to be honest with you. We're just gonna blame trains for everything, and I respect what the train companies. I have family that worked for CN Rail. I respect what they do, but I don't think I've got a bigger pet peeve in the world than being stuck in a train. I really don't.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems like Spencer loved his rivalry is with transportation, whether it be planes.
Yeah, that'll be it. Spencer versus the transport industry, headlining LPW 63 at the Rec Room in 2028.
Speaking of interviews, you just interviewed Tyra Valkyrie. How did that?
Yeah. Man, it was very cool, and I said it even when I did the intro to the podcast. But there are so many people that I've interviewed at this point, and that sounds a little cocky, but there are so many people that I've interviewed at this point that I've loved interviewing. But there are always interviews that mean a little bit more, And I loved interviewing Taya because quite literally, again, I said when we chatted, is the first wrestling show, whether you're talking about major promotions, independents, whatever, the first ever wrestling show that I went to, I was 18 years old. I went up to the Century Casino here in Edmonton to go see a Prairie Wrestling Alliance show. And there was a fatal four-way on the card with Taya Valkyrie, Casey Spinelli, Tennille Dashwood, and then Veronica Weiss. And it's very cool for me to get the opportunity to speak to people that were fundamental, frankly, to my love of professional wrestling. You know, she was someone who was quite literally on the first card I ever went to. I went to that show by myself because I didn't think anyone would want to go with me, so I didn't ask anybody to go with me. My own fault, but yeah, like I fell in love with pro wrestling that night. There's no real other way to put it. And it was very cool and has always been very cool when I've had the opportunity to talk to people like that. I'm very lucky and very fortunate and very humbled that I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of cool people in this industry. But it always means a little bit more when you have that little bit of a personal connection to it, you know?
And it's really cool. And, you know, Spinelli books for, you've booked Spinelli on Love Pro Wrestling as well. So,
man, Casey Spinelli is like the best person in the world, and I'll just throw that one out there. Like, there are few people on this planet I've got more love for than Casey Angelface Spinelli.
And in that first show, she lost.
Hey, yeah, Spinelli's a professional. That's all I'm gonna say. No, like you talk, and I'm certain, man. You name anybody on our roster, and I will say something like that. It's very cool to be surrounded by wonderful human beings. You know, I would put our locker room as second to none, even outside of professional wrestling itself. The stuff that happens inside the ring, it is such a pleasure that we've got people like her, and I can say that about all the 25 people that I would say consists our quote unquote roster. We're very, very fortunate. Spinelli is one huge part of 25 huge parts of our promotion.
Is it kind of maybe a full circle moment, so to speak? You know.
Oh, hell yeah.
Spinelli being the catalyst to you be getting into pro wrestling, and now your first the promotion you're running, you get the booker.
Certainly one of them, you know, but it's pretty cool to be able to say that about a few people. I've been going out to shows since 2011, and not to make myself sound like, well, dated. There's no other way to put it. But like, there's a lot of professional wrestling that I've been around for. I've gotten to sort of see the history out here, and a lot of it means a lot to me. So, you know, Spinelli is easily a great example of that. Michael Richard Blais, same boat. He was on that same card. He was wrestling under a different name at the time, and he was huge as far as my love of pro wrestling goes. He was the first individual I ever did an interview with. You know, Rachel Ellering. I was there for her first ever singles match in her career. And to get the opportunity to have her come back and wrestle in Canada and wrestle in Alberta for the first time in 7 years, that was very cool. So yeah, it's very cool, especially with the fact, you know, there were a lot of people I love in pro wrestling and a lot of people who I've got a lot of personal love for stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you've got to go out there and put on a hell of a professional wrestling show. And yeah, they're fundamental to my love of pro wrestling. But at this point, like, I'm certain we've had people who've come out to love pro wrestling shows that can be in that same boat because of the same people as me, you know? So that sort of, yeah, full circle is a very good way to put it, James, because there are a lot of people I've loved personally and professionally on these cards, and it's very surreal at points to be able to make that happen.
Kind of seems like, you know, love pro wrestling, and who you have around you is kind of, it's more than just professional, it's kind of personal as well. Would I be right in saying that?
I don't think you're wrong, but I don't also think that, like, or I think that should be the case with anything. Like, at the end of the day, professional wrestling is an art, and you and I were talking at the start of this podcast, like, if you're in something like this and you aren't passionate about it and you don't love what you're doing, not just on a professional level, but a personal level, what are you doing? You know? And I think that that's the case for most industries out there. But especially with something that's artistic and something that you have to put your entire heart and soul into, whether it's promoting, whether it's announcing, whether it's commentating, whether it's wrestling itself, whether it's backstage interviewing, whatever it might be. Professional wrestling for me is an industry that is completely based on passion. So you're bang on. It is something that we're very proud of the shows we've got, but yeah, it's a personal endeavor of, well, love. No pun intended.
I think we got the theme here, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I've said it. I did an interview a couple of months ago, and I said the same thing. Is like it's very hard for me sometimes to like have to try and avoid using the word love or love pro wrestling just in sentences. But hey, it's a good problem to have.
Hey, I mean, every time you say it, you're promoting, so it's a thing.
That's exactly it. Hey, Cesaro got a shirt, right?
All right. Can you tell us about Taryn from accounting being the first challenge champion and Michael Richard Blais being the first grand champion?
Hell yeah, I can.
Yeah, and why were those the right people to be the first to represent Love Wrestling?
They've earned it, you know. I think that Taryn has gone out there each and every match that she's had, whether it's the initial Rumble where she won the championship or whether it's any of the 5 that she's had since. She's gone out there and is someone that Albertan professional wrestling fans have loved for a very, very long time. And very long time, like start of her career, very long time, because she's only about 2-3 years in at this point. She's someone that everyone out here has loved for a long time. Both for her, obviously, like Taryn from accounting is the best name in pro wrestling. I stand by that, but
sure.
Because she goes out there and she absolutely delivers in the ring. So she wins the Rumble initially, the Change the Game Battle Royal, but has gone on to defend that title against quite literally the best of the best, some standard bearers of the professional wrestling scene, you know, Nicole Matthews, Rachel Ellering, Veda Scott coming up on August 26th is going to be another massive match for her. Zoe Sager at the last show. It's pretty impressive. She's our only undefeated professional wrestler, and I think for me that sums it up. Like, why does she deserve it? Because she's gone out there and won every match. And as far as MRB goes, you talk about individuals who have taken the Albertan scene on their backs, who are some of the standard bearers of Canadian wrestling over the last 15 years. Frankly, and I mean this with no disrespect to anybody, but if you're talking about Canadian pro wrestling and people who have absolutely changed this province, this country over the last 15, 20 years, if you don't bring up MRB, I don't have a lot of time for your opinion. He has absolutely been fundamental to the growth of this scene, to the training of so many professional wrestlers out here, and gone out and he says, you know, it ain't a tagline, James. It's full honesty. That guy goes out there and he does not disappoint in anything he does. His matches are incredible. His mind is second to none as far as professional wrestling goes. The guy was trained by one of the best in TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd. His fundamentals are down pat. Anything that you can use there in the sports, like, man, you put a box in front of me as far as what Michael Richard Blais does for professional wrestling, he ticks it. You know what I mean? So, for him to represent my company and for Taryn from accounting to represent my company. And there are so many other people who do as well, too. We're very proud of the people who are flying the LPW flag, for lack of a better way to put it. But as far as our champions go, I could not be more proud that those two are our champs.
No, you know, it is interesting, you know, it's the challenge champion and the grand champion. You know, usually it's either world champion, women's champion, internet champion, intercontinental, outer continental, in short, pro wrestling, so name here champion. What was the reasoning between going with such a unique name?
So, as far as the Grand Championship goes, that one's a little bit easy. They're both easy, but for me, I think that a title's name should indicate where that title has been defended in the past. You look at the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Most of those are either named after where they've been defended. Obviously, in the case of the NWA, through the world. or it is defined by the weight class that individual is in. You know, even Rey Mysterio was a quote unquote like heavyweight champion or a world's champion, excuse me, because that title was defended all over the world, right? For me, we haven't had that championship defended outside of Alberta at this point. We haven't had it defended outside of Canada. It hasn't been defended outside of North America, not for a lack of want, just a lack of the fact that like we're 6 shows in. If it's a world's championship, I believe it should have been and should be defended around the world, you know, and not that MRB can't, won't, isn't willing, and frankly won't successfully defend that, I don't think, if he goes elsewhere. It just simply hasn't been. And if we were to call it a heavyweight championship, well, that segregates a division, or that segregates a population of Love Pro Wrestling roster members that like, man, I want to see everybody challenge for that. We firmly believe, and this ties into the Challenge Championship as well, you know, if you feel you're worthy of challenging for a championship, either go out there and earn it through winning, through number 1 contenders matches, through anything like that, if you want to take on MRB. Or as far as the Challenge Championship goes, if you feel like you can step up to someone who quite literally hasn't lost in our promotion, then step up. Lay down that challenge, because that's what that title is designed for. Is I grew up as a fan of, you know, John Cena's United States Open challenges. You want some, come get some. And that, for me, epitomizes pro wrestling. I think that pro wrestling should be the best of one versus the best of another, regardless of gender identity, regardless of height, weight, sexual orientation, whatever it may be. If you think you're the best, step up. We've got the opportunity for you, whether it's through winning or through challenging. So, you know, I think there are a lot of great titles elsewhere. There are a lot of other titles that we're very proud to have had defended in Love Pro Wrestling. The PCW UK Cruiserweight Championship coming up, the WrestleCore Infinity Championship. But our 2 titles are open to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
I love that. That was a really interesting answer that I just, you know, I don't think a lot of people take all of that consideration into when they're making a championship.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's professional wrestling is a market where you can watch any promotion anywhere. You know, I'm going to say the same things, but anywhere, anytime, any place, you can watch any professional wrestling promotion at this point if they've got a good online product. So, you know, I don't think it should be a differentiator as far as it goes for our titles, but I think we've got 2 very unique titles, 2 very great champions behind them, and hell, we've had some great matches out of them, so how can you argue that?
Yeah, I can't disagree. You know, going to your last event, Zoe Sager was supposed to wrestle Gigi Ray. That didn't happen. Willow Nightingale took her place. Obviously, there's, you know, challenges that a promoter faces. Could you tell us about, you know, facing something like that?
That was the first time that's ever happened when we weren't able to have Giselle in. That was another one where, so when I talked earlier about that singles match with Rachel Ellering, her opponent that night was Giselle Shaw. So that's why we were hoping to have Giselle back in for that show, but unfortunately, there were obligations with her promotion that she had to fulfill. Hell yeah, as far as that goes. So it's something that I had expected to come up for a while, whether it's flying talent in or whatever. We talked about the travel industry earlier. Like, right. You have to sort of have a backup plan if even as something as simple as a flight gets canceled. So to be honest with you, I'm very thankful for a few people who went out of their way to help us out. I'm not going to name names, but like went out of their way to help us out and give us some contact info and try and help us fill a spot that had to be filled, because Giselle Shaw is obviously an incredible professional wrestler. You can't bring in just anybody to replace someone like them. And very thankfully, 2 weeks out from that show, Willow Nightingale was able to come up, be a part of Love Pro Wrestling. Like, it's very cool that she was able to make that happen, was willing to make that happen, especially on the precipice of such cool stuff coming up, because quite literally it's cool for me. You look back on her matches on Cage Match, and it was All Elite Wrestling and then Love Pro Wrestling, right? So yeah, we were very fortunate with that. it's just one of those things, and I don't have a better way to put it, James, than sometimes shit happens, and you just have to deal with that shit as it happens. You know what I mean? Whether it's for good reasons, like Giselle's media appearances that weekend, whether it's for shitty reasons, like the airline industry, or maybe a guy gets stuck at a train on his way back for an interview. But sometimes stuff just happens, and you deal with it, and you deal with it with as positive a mindset as you can. And I've found that's paid off for us. So over the few snafus we've had to deal with so far.
That's incredible, and taking a match 2 weeks notice in a different country, like wow.
It was her Western Canadian debut, and that is the coolest thing for me that we've been able to do, is provide that opportunity for people to come back for their first time in forever. When Chelsea Green came up for us, it was her first match in Alberta in about 7 years. Rachel Ellering coming back for the first time in 7 years. It was supposed to be Giselle's first match here in 6. It's very cool for me to be able to provide that, both as a fan myself, obviously, but to be able to provide that to other people who, I'm far from the only person who's gone out to professional wrestling shows for a while out here, So to be able to do stuff like that is very cool. To be able to have people out here for the very first time is very cool. Like Von Vertigo coming out to Western Canada, having that title defended for the first time in Western Canada. It means a lot personally, to be honest with you, because I'm sure I'm far from the first person or far from the only person reaching out to these people and hoping to have them out here for what is fairly substantial matches, and matches that I would assume and hope are meaningful for them too. So to be able to provide that opportunity, to be able to do that stuff out here is, it's neat. I have no other way to put it.
What does it kind of mean to you to have, only being seven shows in, and, having that reputation of having a good work environment, having great wrestlers that attract these names like Nightingale, Shaw, all these in bigger names, so to speak. And actually have them come in, respond, and having that on your show.
Well, James, you said I could curse, so honestly, the fucking world. I have really no other way to put it. It means a lot because, again, these are people who have taken chances. You and I talked before we started recording, even a little off the start here, that I am sure that every person, and this sucks, but I'm sure every professional wrestler at some point has their quote unquote horror story of, I was supposed to wrestle on this show and I got ghosted by a promoter, or X, Y, and Z. And as a very new promotion, as a promotion that's not located in a major hub for professional wrestling, at least not right now, we have to, and obligation, I don't mean as a negative word, but we have an obligation to people to provide that work environment and to provide the best possible experience we can. So the fact that people have taken those chances, have risked coming up in some ways, coming up to Edmonton, coming up for a promotion that is fairly new, that we're very confident in, don't get me wrong there, but is new, it just means the world. Because I'm sure when you look at people, I hate going back to the same names with it, but man, I'm sure Chelsea Green has gotten more than one email from someone saying, we'd like you to come and work for our new promotion.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And whether or not this ain't me to speculate on that end. It's me just saying, we're far from the first. And she chose, and Rachel chose, and Willow chose, and Veda chose, and Gigi, everybody that's come in for us has chosen. The people that came out for our first show, whether they're just coming out from Vancouver or we had a relationship with or whatever, I think that people sometimes underrate, underappreciate, neither of those feel right, but underappreciate how much risk pro wrestlers do take in coming out, whether you're a new promotion or a long-time promotion, in coming out for these sorts of things. So, yeah, honestly, man, just the world that these people have chosen to, because I go back to the same phrase, but without the one times or without the long times, as far as it goes with Love Pro Wrestling, we wouldn't be here. We simply wouldn't be here.
Now, we're talking about big names and the established names of love pro wrestling, what do you look in for? What do you look for in new talent to bring them in? You know, around Canada.
I've always thought that pro wrestling is best described as a buffet. You know, you want to have a little bit of everything. You want to have a little bit of different flavors. You want to have different things going on. You don't want, and this is my personal opinion because there have been great shows that do this, but like, I don't want to watch 7 hardcore matches. I don't want to watch 7 catch wrestling matches all on the same show. I love all of those styles. I love me a good death match. Do I want to watch 7 or 8 of them all in one night? Not all that often. I think the pro wrestling is best served as a buffet, both for, you know, my own preferences, but what I think that like fans prefer. So when you've got the opportunity to bring in something new, one thing that I always ask whenever people ask to come out and wrestle for us for the first time, what do you think you'll bring differently? You know, because if you can, I'm not going to name names, but like if you feel you're a great high flyer, well, I know we've got great high flyers in Love Pro Wrestling right now. What are you going to do? If you think you're a great catch wrestler, I'm sure you are, but we've got some. So what are you going to do that's different? Because I want to bring everybody in. Like that's been the hardest part of my shows is there are so many people I want to work out here. But what are you going to do that brings something new or exciting or different or whatever XYZ may be, right? We need and actively want, like this ain't saying doors are closed for anyone. Let's bring in the best in Canadian pro wrestling. But we want to try and have different flavors. We want to be the Baskin Robbins of professional wrestling. There you go.
52 flavors.
50. I was just going to say 52. Baskin Robbins always knows.
All right. You know, one of the interesting things, you know, looking at Love Pro Wrestling is your graphics. And the one that really stuck out to me was the stick figure graphic. Could you tell us about that?
I would be friggin' delighted to. Huge shout out to Zach Ralph. So he is the host of the Smark and Friends podcast. He hosts Quizplex on Love Wrestling. He hosts basically anything. He is a Zach of all trades. That's a good pun. That made me laugh. But for me, his graphics, as far as it goes for professional wrestling, are absolutely unmatched. We've tried to take on, so I love punk rock. I'm a huge like 80s, 90s punk, pop punk fan. So we've tried to follow like a different punk or pop punk motif for every show that we've done. The one that you're talking about, Don't Want to Grow Up, our second show, that was based on a Descendants album. We've done based on Green Day. We've done based on our latest show coming up, and Out Come the Wrestlers is based on Ranson's album and Out Come the Wolves. We've done Lagwagon tributes. We've done Ramones tributes. And we would not be able to do it without him, because not only does Zach have a great taste in music, like we share a love of punk and pop punk, but that guy is, by my money, we've got the best graphics in the game. We really, really do as far as our tributes go, and that's all him. I have absolutely no input on that other than, hey, Zach, here's the title. He's a killer. We wouldn't be anywhere without Zach.
They certainly stick out, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and for me, like, you know, there's only so many pro wrestling fans in the world, and I'm a firm believer that pro wrestling, outside of just great in-ring action, using air quotes, as lame as that sounds, pro wrestling is the best night out. It's the best form of entertainment out there. And so many people have the stigma of, oh, pro wrestling is this weird, you know, they have a very
We don't talk to
not bad. Well, they have a jaded opinion of it, and
Right.
I do understand, frankly, where a lot of that comes from. You can't say that pro wrestling doesn't have an odd history, to be kind about it sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
For me, pro wrestling stands out as the best night of entertainment, whether you're a fan or not. Whether you watch Raw, whether you're your traditional like 18-hour-a-week viewer of pro wrestling, or whether you haven't watched since Stone Cold retired initially. Like, you can come out to any pro wrestling show and have a blast. And for me, if there's a way that we can bring people out to a show, whether it's through our posters or anything like that, that draws people in and says, you know, my hope for everyone and my thought with people that come out and are taking a chance, they walk by a poster at, you know, the Buckingham or Average Joe's or Alley Cat, wherever it may be, and they say, oh my goodness, Rancid's coming. Wait, that's not Rancid. Oh, cool, pro wrestling. Let's go out. You know what I mean? You've got to try and bring in people that maybe haven't had the good fortune to experience just how cool as shit professional wrestling can be. So if our graphics can make us stand out in a way that, you know, your traditional, hey, here's 55 different professional wrestling and or professional wrestlers and 2,000 words of text on a poster goes. I'm sure you and I have both seen those same posters.
Yeah.
Let's try and do something different. Every show we've had 1 or 2 wrestlers on outside of our first Change the Game event.
Oh, let's get into some of the interviewing questions. Who's somebody you want to interview, but for whatever reason haven't been able to, whether it's scheduling, can't get a hold of them, etc., etc. And who's the dream interview?
Natalia, easy answer for me as far as that goes. I do have a lot of people, like I everybody's done it. I've done up like my own little Cody Rhodes list of who do I want to interview, all of that. But Natalia Neidhart, no doubt as far as that goes. I've had the great fortune to chat with TJ before. What a wonderful human being he is. But again, it goes back a little bit even to the professional wrestling end of things. Man, Natalia's meant so much to me as a professional wrestling fan that I just have so many questions, not just about WWE and all that sort of stuff, but like so many Mat Rats questions and so many questions about her being out in Alberta and starting as a ring announcer and taking her first bump, you know, all of that sort of stuff that, you know, there's not a lot that I'm 100% confident that I'm the best at. But when it comes to interviewing like Albertan talent and interviewing people like that, I feel very confident that I can give a very unique perspective on that sort of stuff, you know? So, yeah, Natalia, easy. Right behind, Jinder Mahal. And I shit you not, I would love to chat with Jinder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good Calgarian. First Calgarian, to win a WWE championship since Bret Hart.
Wow. I didn't even know
Yeah.
Jinder was Canadian.
Yep. Jinder Mahal, he wrestled out here as Tiger Raj Singh. He was a guy that, again, I talk about going out to shows and independent shows early in my tenure, I guess, as a pro wrestling fan. Yeah, that guy's fundamental. You can't hinder Jinder, man. You just cannot hinder Jinder.
No.
It's unhinderable.
Well, it seems like Shanky's hindering him a little bit right now.
Pardon me, sorry?
It seems like Shanky's hindering him a little bit right now.
Oh, I love it. I really love it. You know, and maybe I am biased with it, but like Jinder is underrated as a pro wrestler, and I think severely like underappreciated as an entertainer. Stuff like this, I've got a real soft spot for 3MB. So like, oh man, I love me some Jinder Mahal. I really love me some Jinder Mahal.
I mean, Natalia, it doesn't get any more underrated than Natalia. Underappreciated is a better word.
Man, yeah, it's always a weird like phrase because I am certain, and there are a lot of people like this that like you ask any professional wrestling fan who like one of the best wrestlers out there is, Natalia should always come to mind. Like she should always come to mind as far as it goes. Bonafide first ballot Hall of Famer. She's incredible. She has had more wins than any female in WWE history. She is one of the most appeared individuals on any of their programming. Like, can't argue with Natty. You really can't argue with Natty. And also, not many people appreciate just how good her social media game is. Like, this whole response that she's been doing over the last little bit with her assistant is chef's kiss. I love it. Yeah, Natty's a killer. Dream interviews right there. There's my 2. I'll even give you a bonus.
Okay. Now, you've interviewed so many people. who's somebody, when you went into the interview, you were expecting one thing, but while you were doing it, you expect something else came out of it, and that not necessarily in a bad way, but you were like, I wasn't expecting that.
There have been a few, and not through any like bad expectations, anything like that. Like sometimes I've gone into an interview with like they have a time limit, or you can't talk about this or whatever it may be, X, Y, and Z. Most of the times that I've had something unexpected happen has been incredibly positive, and it's just because like I so over prep and I get so nervous. I really do. I've had anxiety for years. I suffer from that. Not suffer. I deal with anxiety. It's like going into an interview with people that I've admired or look up to or never thought I'd have an interview with or anything like that. Those are the ones where sometimes I go in and you sort of get that little mental block with it, and all of them have turned out positively. I can't tell you how nervous I was going in to interview Jeff Jarrett. What a great human being he was to talk to. Chelsea Green I keep referencing, but she was the first ever individual that was contracted to WWE that I got the chance to chat with. Same thing, is I was sitting in that chair beforehand and saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it was so great. What a wonderful person. Most of the unexpected stuff has been stuff like that has just been, I get nervous and it's overwhelmingly positive,
No, I mean, I get incredibly nervous before an interview as well, but something when you actually do get on, the red lights blinking, you gotta perform.
Well, exactly. And you know what? I've always been of the belief that you've got to dive in with both feet sometimes, whether it's nerve-wracking or not. It's nerve-wracking either way, I guess is the best way to put it. Whether you're sitting there and you do it, whether you're sitting there and you don't do it. For me, I'd much rather do it and get it over with and risk that positive experience than sit there and not do it and burn a bridge, whatever the situation might be, right? So, yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive because I just get scared of shit.
Usually I ask this a little differently, but I want to ask it this way today. What's something that somebody told you in an interview that was weird, crazy, or bizarre?
One of my favorite, not just interviews, but one of my favorite people in the world is Bronwyn Billington, the Dynamite Kid's daughter. So I interviewed her about a year ago at this point. And it was the first time we'd ever met. It was, again, one of those situations where I over-prepped, I got nervous, I was very excited to chat with her, and it just turned into a great conversation. So for most interviews, I'll always have a couple of, like, not risky questions, but questions that like you can only ask if you're like with a friend or stuff like that. So I asked her a question about a time that she was managing Davey Boy Smith Jr., Harry Smith, where his opponent may or may not have gone number 2 during the match.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so getting that story, and I won't go into it too much because, man, it is just the funniest listen. But that was, you want to talk about bizarre, that would be about the most bizarre one. Though there's a lot of fun, bizarre ones out there. One of my favorite ones was like, not bizarre, but just funny, was like when I interviewed Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, him and I at the end of our interview, we did like a 2-minute segment, 3-minute segment where I just had him make up nicknames for people because obviously Hot Sauce Tracy Williams has the best nickname in the game. Yep. So I just had him make up nicknames for a bunch of like Ring of Honor roster members and that sort of stuff. Leo Rush, I recently got to chat to. He and I, same sort of thing as we did like a rapid fire at the end of the show where I asked him about other wrestlers that rapped, whether it was John Cena, Max Caster, R-Truth, whoever it may be. Yeah. There's always a lot of fun stuff like that you can do, and I'm very lucky that I've had the opportunity to chat to people that are like good people, because like you don't get answers to some questions like that when you interview some people, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they all embrace that shit just so wholeheartedly.
Well, how about we do a little speed run right now?
All right.
I'll give you a name of a love pro wrestler, and you just tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
All right. Jack Pride.
Unbelievably good. Just unbelievably good.
Larry Woods.
Fuck you, Larry.
Michael Richard Blais.
Best wrestler in Canada.
Mo Jabari.
Kid Chocolate. That kid's a stud.
Son of Irish.
Heart and soul of professional wrestling. Love pro wrestling.
Stephen Crow.
Rhinestone Cowboy, the most popular professional wrestler in Alberta.
Taryn from accounting.
Death, taxes, and TFA.
Zoe Sago.
Probably the next person to get signed in this province.
I couldn't agree more. Casey Spinelli.
Angel Face, one of my favorite people on the planet.
Nicole Matthews.
Too damn good. Oh, too damn good at what she does.
Talk about somebody that needs to get signed.
Man, Nicole Matthews, when we talked earlier about this, and I know this is like not rapid fire anymore, but we'll get back to her, I promise. But like,
No, that was the
you talk
last
about
name
you yeah, perfect. You talk about individuals that like I am so goddamn grateful to that like took a chance on coming out here, supported Love Pro Wrestling, has supported me. She was the 5th interview I ever did. And I had no right interviewing Nicole Matthews at that point. I really didn't. But like most of my first interviews, I'm sure you can speak to it. Like if you've listened back to any of your first interviews, like you're really good at this, but they're probably all nerve-wracking anytime you listen back to the first few. So Nicole Matthews has always supported, always taken chances. And man, I am so damn grateful for her.
I mean, I could listen to the last interview I did, and just,
You can always find something. That's exactly it. But I also feel like if you're not always trying, my belief has always been if stuff's 99%, then you've got to figure out what the 1% is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's always you're always going to find something. But yeah, I'm eternally grateful to Nicole, to be honest with you, because she took a lot of chances on us and me, and I appreciate it.
And talking about somebody we had no business interviewing, one of our very first interviews was with Masha Slamovich.
Oh, man. What a great person. What a great pro wrestler. Like a personal damn favorite of mine, too. I had the opportunity to speak to her about 6 months ago, almost a year ago, just before she signed with Impact. And holy hot damn, was that a cool conversation.
It was. And, we only had like less than 24 hours to do. From getting the interview to actually interviewing, we only had like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it was like a really, and that's not the whole story. But looking back at it now, doing this for like almost 2 years at this point, I was like, yeah, we interviewed Masha, and we probably had no business interviewing Masha. But we certainly had no idea who we were talking to at that point. But it's a part of our history, and I am really, really proud of that interview for so many reasons.
Heck yeah, and you should be. It's always cool because I've had similar experiences where it's, hey, would you like to interview this person? Or, hey, I just got your email. Would you like to chat tomorrow? Or whatever it may be. And you have that sort of come to Jesus or come to Flying Spaghetti Monster moment, as I like to call them, where it's like, well, do I either say no and hope that this happens again, or do you just try and jump in with both feet? And those have been some of my favorite interviews because, you and I were talking when we were messaging back and forth on this, like we over prep. We like to over prep. We like to be detail oriented, and 24 hours, regardless of how much you want to, you can't be as detail oriented as you have to be within like a week or couple weeks or whatever.
Right.
So those sometimes turn into the most fun conversations, I've come to find.
we scheduled this on Sunday, I believe. Sunday
Yep.
or Monday. And,
It's a long weekend. Don't ask me the days of the week.
and usually, and we're doing it maybe like 5 days later. Usually,
Yeah.
I like a week and 2 days to prep for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really wanted to get you on. You said this week, so I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
Heck yeah, and here we are, and it's been a blast.
Yeah. Well, that brings us into our next segment. Stencil loves bizarre adventure. You're in the pro wrestling world, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh man, not really particular. Well, kind of one. Not even really much of a story. But we went down. This was about a month ago at this point. A friend of mine went down. We worked a show in Calgary. It was during the Calgary Stampede. And we ended up, just because it was the cheapest Airbnb that we could find, ended up sleeping on the Stampede grounds in an 8-person tent because it was on Airbnb. But to be honest with you, that's about the craziest road story. There aren't many traveling opportunities out in Alberta, and especially not for an individual that only ring announces. I'm very confident in what I do. Also, full credit to what I do. Nobody really wants to bring a ring announcer out when chances are there's probably somebody rightfully that has earned that spot elsewhere. You don't need to bring me in. I'm really good, I think. I don't have a lot of road stories.
Bring me for the
Sleeping
road
in tents
stories,
about
damn
it, but I've... Pardon me, sir?
Bring me for the road stories, damn it.
That's, you know what, if there's ever a reason, I'm going to advocate now. Bring me, if you can get me down there just so I can get on the podcast again and give you a road story, perfect. I'll waive my transit fee as though I have the right to one.
Now, I might be reading this wrong, but could you tell us about your love of Pokemon?
Dude, I love Pokemon. What else is there to say? So I was born in 1992. Game Freak put out the first red and blue cartridges in 95, 96 in Canada. So I was right at the age to get right indoctrinated into Pokemon, and they've done such a good job over the last few years. I'm not a big gamer by any means, James, but like, if there's any game that I will play, I love me some Pokemon. The nostalgia is great, and the games have just gotten better and better and better over the last little bit. Like, I don't know how much of a fan you are, but they just put out a game last November. Yeah, November. Pokemon Legends Arceus. And it is the first, like, fully open world game. It is a very different game than Pokemon's put out, where it's traditionally, like, you're static, go gym to gym to gym to gym, beat the leader, catch them all, yada, yada. And it's sort of like reinvigorated, and it never left, but it really reinvigorated just how much I love Pokemon. And now they're putting out new games. Scarlet and Violet come out in October or November of this year, I think, too. And they're also like a cool mix of both open world, and now they're going back to like, you go in, you beat gyms, you do all of that. So yeah, it's just cool. I'm maybe just hitting like the nostalgia phase, but I also feel like a lot of 90s stuff is coming back. Like I told you right off the bat, after this, I'm going to play 90s alt-rock bingo at one of our sponsors, the Buckingham. They're wonderful people. And I think you can tell because they've got 90s alt-rock bingo.
The open world one sounds really interesting. I don't think I've seen that, but I've always been a fan of the anime. Like, that's what got me into Pokemon.
I got to be honest with you, I'm still playing a lot of catch-up on it. I didn't realize, so they've got like, I think it's even called like Pokemon TV or something like that is the app I've got. But that's got all of the episodes on it. I was very limited up until I moved into my new place, honestly, on thinking that, you know, everything that was on Netflix was all there was out there you could catch right now. But now you can catch them all. Good pun. That was pretty good.
That was a great segue. That was awesome. I love that.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Well, it's just you can only watch so much Pokemon, and the original series is still, nostalgic for me. But, once you get into, the later years, once you're, grown up, you're like, this guy still hasn't became a Pokemon master. How long am I going to wait?
So I saw a meme, and I guess Ash, spoiler alert, if anybody's in this and they're anime fans on the Pokemon end. So Ash won the Alola League, capturing his first Pokemon championship. And somebody put out a meme where it's like, it took 22 years for Ash to claim his first championship. And the response underneath was, so Ash is a 10-year-old with 22 years experience. It's basically what every employer is looking for. So he did do it. It just took him a very long year.
Yes. My God, and I think One Piece is long. I think Pokemon might have trumped them. Could you tell us about Spenny and the Jets?
The best Instagram handle of all time. No, honestly, that strictly came from a throwaway joke. The only thing I'm frustrated about with it is that somebody else ostensibly thought of it before me because I had to put 2 S's at the end. Somebody had Spenny and the Jets with 1 S, and if I'm ever famous, like I've got a list of like the dumb stuff I would purchase if I ever made like ridiculous, like you call it Oprah rich money.
Okay.
That would be the first thing I did is I would pay that person to switch out for Spenny and the Jets with 2 S's. Oh yeah. Brand consistency.
Well, we talked about, rock and roll a little bit earlier, and we will in a little bit. But are you an Elton John fan?
Oh yeah. Absolutely love Elton John. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is a top 5 album as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think about that new remix version with Dua Lipa that just came out not too long ago?
I haven't heard it.
Oh my God!
I actually haven't heard it. That'll be hey, we've both found something out tonight. I'll have to check that out.
Well, message me afterwards. Tell me what you think, because it's kind of like a smash medley and with that features Dua Lipa, and I dig it, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Cool. Yeah, I'll tune in. That's rad.
Could you tell us about your love of Kiss? I mean, you were on another podcast talking about Kiss, no?
Oh, yeah. So, Kiss has been my favorite band for years. Well, I've got a few. Kiss is up there, Led Zeppelin's up there, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are up there. There's about the 3, there's your big 3. Yeah, I've been a Kiss Army member since 1998, and I absolutely love them. I think they're just like, and I think it ties into professional wrestling a little bit, is like, yeah, I love the music. Yeah, I love everything behind it, but like, I love a spectacle. I really love a spectacle. And if there's any band that delivers it or really originated it, like they are at the forefront of delivering a spectacle. They're a very cool mix of like glam and hard rock, and chef's kiss. Love it. Love it. And their non-makeup era stuff is severely underrated. That needs to be pointed out as well, too.
That was my next question.
I still like their makeup era stuff more. Don't get me wrong. That is the best era of Kiss. Both pre and, well, anything with Ace and Peter as far as makeup goes. Because I did not like their last couple albums. But yeah, Kiss rocks.
Do you have, what's the maybe most interesting Kiss piece of merchandise memorabilia that you have?
So I'm looking, it hangs in my office. So I've got it's probably a 20 by 15 signed photo of all 4 original members from when they reunited at the Kiss Unplugged sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Kiss. For my dad's 40th birthday, we had a Kiss tribute band come and play with him.
Was it
So
Mini Kiss?
no, I did see them at Knoxville's Tavern here in Edmonton though. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
I can imagine. That could be a really fun show.
Hey, I like a spectacle.
Well, that brings us to the colossal question. They're making a movie about Stencil Love. Every movie has an album. What would be the first 3 songs on the Stencil Love Pro Wrestling career album? To this
Oh
point.
man. Oh, good. That's a good question. I would have to go. So, Lust for Life by Iggy Pop. Lust for Life. I have no lust for life. A lot of lust for life. I Don't Want to Grow Up by the Descendants because that was directly what impacted our first show. Okay. And Steady Pensive by Calling All Captains.
All right. 3 solid picks. Is that
I agree. If I've got taste anywhere, it's in pro wrestling and music.
But the real question is, do you lock it in?
Oh yeah, lock it in all day, every day. It will also, if you want an extra, the show would close. The closing montage would be to "Over the Hills and Far Away" by Led Zeppelin.
All right.
There you go. I even got a bonus for you, James.
I mean, you have this all planned out. The ending is Led Zeppelin.
How cool would it be if I announced at the end of this show that we're launching my documentary? That's not happening, but that would just be a perfect segue into can you plug your socials? Well, you asked me about my movie earlier.
All right. Last year you went to SummerSlam in Vegas.
I did.
Could you tell us about how going to the first major event in pro wrestling since the horrible pandemic kind of affected your pro wrestling? Your perspective on pro wrestling?
Honestly, I don't know if it really changed anything. I think it reinforced a lot for me. And it just pro wrestling brings people together in ways that I don't think a lot of things do. When you got a crowd, and the SummerSlam crowd was great, it really was, despite all the stuff with Becky Lynch and all of that people hated at the time. But now it's just a great little piece of long-term storytelling. The fans there were all aligned. I think that, like you say, it was really one of the first, if not the first, fully attended, using air quotes, events the WWE put on post restrictions pandemic. I really think that it just brought people together and just reinforced my belief that there's really nothing out there like professional wrestling.
And it's cool you say bring people together because I was actually at that event as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So.
Well, you didn't come and say hi.
I didn't know you were there, but it's kind of cool that we could have ran into each other at one point.
We probably passed each other in the merch stand.
Don't tell me you bought that $100 Vince McMahon t-shirt.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started because I had a friend of mine that went down this year. He was in Vegas for something entirely different. They were still selling those $100 shirts.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah,
cool.
You better believe it.
Now, could you tell us about finishing third in the Slam Ball Jamboree?
Ha! Literally just a joke. I have never played slam ball. I am not athletic. If you've seen me, You know, and I'm confident in myself, but I am not by any means built for like anything athletic whatsoever. Nothing. Maybe like pool, and not swimming. Maybe I'm like built for pool. That's about it. Yeah, I just honestly, I was watching it one night, and it was just one of those things where like I like to call it my Michael Scott syndrome, where sometimes I just like start talking or start having a thought, and then start verbalizing that thought without thinking my way through it. So you try and catch yourself halfway through, but now it's my Instagram bio, and honestly, I'll probably change that every like 2 years.
Okay, interesting. So we're not going to see Spencer Love in the ring anytime soon.
No, you know, and that's one thing that I've been consistent on, and even the further and further I go, you know, what if this changes 20 years from now? Don't pull up the audio, guys. But I don't really have a desire to like wrestle a match or anything like that. Now, like I have and probably will continue like to take bumps or do stuff like that as part of stories, or if somebody shoves me or something like that in a ring, and cool, it's a storytelling device. Like if you push me, I need to know how to fall properly, and I need to know how to not hurt myself. But like, no, I don't want to ever wrestle a match, because I just think that there's like so many people better than me at it. Number one, but two, like I really love what I'm doing. I really love what I'm doing, whether it's promoting, whether it's ring announcing. I love doing that. You know, it's just a cool thing. It's a cool little niche for me to be able to get to do. And as far as it comes to, I'm bad with pain. That's the biggest thing. Might as well cut to the chase with that. I'm not good with pain. So no, I respect the ever-loving hell out of professional wrestlers. Anybody who has taken a bump, gotten in the ring, wrestled in front of people, like whether or not I'm a personal fan of the way they wrestle or whatever, that's a taste thing. Anybody who's gotten in that ring has my utmost respect, because they've done something I don't want to do nor will do. No, I don't think so. I just don't think so. But hey, if somebody pulls this audio up in 20 years, number one, I asked you not to do this, but be okay.
Even if the match came up, Spencer Love versus Brother Love, refereed by Love Doug, loser has to hate.
Somebody made the joke about doing like an offshoot promotion where we run our spot shows as like Hate Pro Wrestling, and I laughed and then said no. No, I love that. It's like the same thing as Brian Cage versus Ethan Page versus Christian Cage in a cage match, right? Like,
And
no, unless I got paid well. That's the thing. If somebody ever offers me 7 figures to wrestle, this entire answer is rescinded. All of it. Throw all the money my way. If you want to see me get my ass kicked bad enough that you're going to throw $1 million my way or more, done.
But I mean, it is a good question. Why haven't we seen Love Doug in Love Pro Wrestling? I mean, I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Love Doug will come. I love Doug. Love Doug will be up here when we have Courtney Love do our theme song.
Okay. All right, I'm holding you to that.
Oh, done. Feel free. That's audio you can pull up 20 years from now.
All right, well, on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
No.
You mean Spencer
No.
Love doesn't love pineapple on pizza?
I really don't like it at all. I refrain from using the word hate, but no. No, doesn't belong. Doesn't belong at all. Firm stance.
So there's no changing your mind.
The only way you're going to change my mind is if you hand me 7 figures. No, not a fan. Not a fan. I'm not a fruit. I'm not even like a big vegetable guy on pizza. So like I at least understand where that comes from. Pineapple, no, not particularly.
All right, what's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon? Snorlax.
That is a great one.
Yeah, easy. I like to sleep and eat.
weirdest question you'll ever be asked on a pro wrestling podcast. Would you ever consider booking The Rock? I'm not talking about Dwayne Johnson, not the country, the backyard pro world heavyweight champion Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I am a big proponent of backyard pro wrestling. I think they're absolutely excellent. I love the dance and weapon. Yes, I would be happy to have The Rock defend his championship in Love Pro Wrestling.
Now,
I would also love, if we're gonna politic for stuff, I would also love to book the rematch between Invisible Man and Invisible Stan.
well, I mean, I feel like the money matches him versus Psychotic Michael.
No, see, we do have Paper as part of the roster, and I'd really love to see how they mixed it up in Western Canada.
Gotta get a triple threat with Scissors.
I don't know. I feel like that's an unnecessary addition. We know how Rock's done against Scissors in the past, but this is a fresh matchup for Western Canadian professional wrestling fans. I think Rock and Paper on the West Coast with the different elevations as compares to the Eastern Coast of Ontario could be really interesting.
Like the moisture, right? It could affect Paper, right?
Yeah, the solar winds and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Alright,
The Chinooks.
we love Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Thug? THUG.
Oh my goodness, we had an episode of Poetry of a Promo. Do an episode. I know G stands for jail because a thug can't read. I cannot remember the first three for the life of me.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, cause a dog can't spell.
I knew I was on the right track. At least I got the important line.
Yes.
That's what matters.
Yeah. No, love Tracy. Love wrestling. We're on. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Huh. I've got a few bucket list items, but like not really an end goal with it, as silly as that sounds. Like I would love to run a Mania Week show. I would love to somehow do a Super Bowl commercial. That's entirely separate from pro wrestling. Yeah, I've got a lot of goals. Where do I see myself? In Edmonton, Alberta. Ideally, I love it here. I really do love it here. In Edmonton, Alberta, with an entirely brand new roster for Love Pro Wrestling, because every single person that Love Pro Wrestling currently employs has been signed elsewhere. And hopefully on the last Friday of every month at the Rec Room South Common, ring announcing my damn heart out.
I love that. That's awesome. Now what is an interview people should go out of their way to see that shows off how Spencer Love interviews?
My last interview with TJ Wilson was an absolute blast. He gives a lot of really great insight and is a great storyteller. So that one was a blast. I really enjoyed my couple of conversations with PCO. He would be one I'd recommend. My latest one with Taya Valkyrie was just a lot of fun because recency bias. If you want to check out some of like my early ones, we do put those out. We archived all of my first 100 interviews as part of my previous site. Those aren't available anywhere but my Patreon. So if you want to go there, I think they're just a cool, if you want to see how it's developed, I guess, that's a good way to go about it. I really loved Maria Kanellis was great. There's a lot, and there's a lot for different reasons. So, in the least, pardon me, sorry?
It's hard to pick one.
Yeah, and like because all of the people I've chatted with, I've never had a negative experience interviewing. And that's the coolest thing, and I think that's what makes it almost like harder is like, quite literally, I've done over 200 interviews at this point. I don't have a negative thing to say about any person I've chatted with. So all of them. There's the cheap pop.
And what match should people go out of their way to see that best shows off what Love Pro Wrestling is all
LPW 4, let's talk about wrestling, our main event between Randy Myers, Travis Williams, and Michael Richard Blais.
Is that
They're
continue?
they're just that was really the first major conclusion to a story we've had. That was our first ever ladder match. We awarded our first ever grand championship in that match, and it was just unbelievable. Like, I again get where the complaint comes from when it comes to like stipulation matches like that, but it served the story we were telling. The match itself was excellent for the cacophony, but B, it was just an excellent wrestling match too. So that would be it. And if you ask me again, I'd probably give you a different answer. I'm very proud of the shows we put on. I really, really am.
Can we find that match on YouTube?
You betcha. So every match that we put out, with the exception of a couple that we're getting some post-commentary done on, but every match that we've ever put out is always put on YouTube as an individual match. I think for me, the best way there, or the best thing that we can do right now, is be getting our brand out there, be getting our wrestlers out there, and YouTube's accessible.
Yes.
It's the same reason we stream our shows on Twitch, is if people can tune in, check out what we've got to offer. I am incredibly confident that our product is very, very good. And I have full confidence that if you tune into us, that you will leave watching a Love Pro Wrestling show, a Love Pro Wrestling match satisfied. You know, we like to say we deliver the best of the best in Canadian professional wrestling, and there are a lot of promotions doing excellent work in Canada. And I feel that our promotion, the work that we've put out, the matches we've put out, the way we've gone about our business, everything in between, I'm confident we stand up to any of them. And that is in the most humble, most positive, most confident way that everybody would feel the same way that I do about their products. There's a lot of great pro wrestling out there above the 49th right now, and I'd like to feel we're a part of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll put that a specific match and the TJ Wilson interview in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that hasn't seen it, hasn't heard it, that wants to go see it after this interview. And of course, the whole YouTube page will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox as well.
Thank you.
All right. Since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Oh, goodness.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I don't know. I'm nervous now, but I guess I'm ready.
Greatest wrestler of all time.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Worst wrestler.
Oh, goodness. That's a tough one. I don't know. See, there's a lot of wrestlers that I'm not a fan of, but that all feels like my personal preference.
Would you like
You
the
know?
default answer?
You know what? Shawn Michaels, because I'm a Bret Hart fan.
Oh, wow.
I love Shawn Michaels, but if I'm giving an answer, I'm going to go fully in with Bret.
I love the symmetry. You
have to.
Oh, continue.
No, I was just going to say you have to have it. You got to have it.
Yes.
I'm going fully in with Bret. I love Shawn Michaels, though. I can't say that.
You're main eventing, you're booking the main event for WrestleMania, for the World Championship. Who are the 2 combatants?
For like next WrestleMania?
Any WrestleMania. It's just a non-specific WrestleMania.
Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle.
Ooh, that would have been a good one.
Never wrestled.
No. Don't even think they've ever even came in contact with each other.
Nope. That's my dream match.
I mean, it's a good one. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
The Brood.
Yeah, that's a good one. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
To be very seriously taken when it needs to be, and totally disregarded at points.
Interesting. Squash, fruit or vegetable?
A kind of match.
I will accept that answer.
Excellent. I hope I'm the first one to give that answer. I made me laugh with it. Dang it.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
All but. All but. If you can somehow only cover the front and get all but in there, why not? Show off an asset if you've got it. Oh, sorry, I should show off an ass-et if you've got it.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
How about Darby Allin? Not in a supermarket, but you'd be surprised how often that guy comes up when you just end up in random wrestling conversations. Like, I often pride myself, and I'm sure every wrestling fan is like this. I don't even need to qualify it. Like, if you see someone else in a wrestling shirt at the supermarket, the friggin' escape room, wherever it might be, like, you're gonna have a conversation with that person. And Darby Allin comes up often, very often. So never a supermarket, but I have had random conversations with people about wrestling that have involved Darby Allin.
Oh, well, it needs to be in a supermarket. And that is
Okay, then no.
correct answer.
The no.
And again, the correct answer. That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much, Spencer, for coming on and doing this with me.
James, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Thanks for your patience with me being a minute late after after having to wait for the train. But no, this is a lot of fun. Thank you again.
I told you then, and I'll tell you again. We've had people a lot later than 2 minutes.
It's the Canadian in me. I'm sure if you've had other Canadians on, then they've apologized as much as I had.
Can you tell us once again where we can find all things Spencer Love and Love Pro Wrestling?
You betcha, friend. So if you want to follow me personally, I'm most active on Twitter. I am at Spenny Love. Instagram, you already brought up. It's at Spenny and the Jets. Hopefully with one S eventually, but 2 S's at the end of it right now. I don't post a lot there. Admittedly, it's more just like random memes and stuff. But if you want to follow everything that we're doing with Love Wrestling, whether on the content end, whether on the pro wrestling end, anything in between, you can find us where podcasts are listened to, videos are viewed, articles are written, and social medias are social media'd at Love Wrestling CA. I don't have a better way to put it. I always stumble across that last part, but like whatever, we're going to go with that. Wherever social medias are social media'd, you can find us at Love Wrestling CA. If you want to see us live in the flesh and with some of the best professional wrestling you'll find above the 49th parallel, come check out the Rec Room South Common on the last Friday of every month. That is where Love Pro Wrestling holds their events. We are coming up this Friday, August 26th, for Love Pro Wrestling 7 and Out Come the Wrestlers. It's going to be an absolute blast. And if you've got the opportunity, come check it out. If you're outside of Edmonton, Alberta, check us out on Twitch.
And who's competing on that show?
We got a lot of great matches. So we've got Michael Richard Blais and Stephen Crow facing off with State of Emergency, of course, Sebastian Wolf and Miles DeVille. Adam Ryder defending the WrestleCore Infinity Championship in Alberta for the very first time. That'll be against Michael Allen, Richard Clark. Veda Scott's in town. Gigi Ray's in town. We've got a ton of great individuals coming out, but stay tuned to the socials for those.
I mean, it's 2 days away.
That's true. That is true, but I just want a cheap follow.
And of course, all of those links to Spencer personally, everything Love for Wrestling that he had mentioned and may have forgotten will all be in the description of the video below or on YouTube at Castbox. No need to go looking for it. Simply click the link, you'll be there. There's no excuse to follow Love Pro Wrestling. And I mean, you've been listening to him for an hour and 40 minutes. Follow Love Pro Wrestling, damn it.
Hey, you said it, not I. Please follow Love Pro Wrestling, damn it.
Well, usually it's buy a damn shirt.
Buy a damn shirt. Oh, whatever. I'm always okay with money. Whatever works. I am happy to accept money.
Give this man money. Of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. We're on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Candle Coffee. Join us next Wednesday for another incredible interview. You can find information on said interview on our Twitter page at Wrestling with E, which is who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to the interviews, news, and just everything you need to know about wrestling entertainment. We're also at Wrestling with E on Instagram as well. You can follow me personally at JamesJ993. You can follow Kaliko at IamKaliko. You can find Scooter Dust at Scooter Dust, and obviously on the Remix, the only live alternative commentary for WWE events, featuring myself and Ryan Dust as well, and all his exploits on Twitch, mainly the Smoking Dragons podcast. Now, Spencer, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment. Hello?
Oh, I'm here. I was waiting to say entertainment.
For our very special guest, Special Love, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.